Amelia Carter sat alone at the corner table of a small cafe, her coffee growing cold in front of her. The late afternoon light spilled across the sidewalk, warm and golden, but she couldn't feel any of it. She kept her hands around her cup just to have something to hold on to. Her heart felt heavier than she wanted to admit. She had been so nervous that morning. It had taken her almost 3 years to try dating again after the train accident that had taken her left leg. 3 years of physical therapy, prosthetic fittings, and learning how to walk again. 3 years of watching friends move forward while she rebuilt her life piece by piece. She thought she was finally ready. When Mark from the dating app had asked to meet her, she told him about her prosthetic leg right away. He said it didn't matter. He said she seemed strong and inspiring. But when he saw her sitting at that table, his face changed in an instant. The smile he'd walked in with faded. He stood there for a few seconds, staring, then turned away, pretending to check his phone. Seconds later, her phone buzzed with a message. "Sorry, something came up. Can't make it, that was it." No explanation. No kindness. Just gone. She stared at her screen for a long time, trying not to cry. It wasn't the first time someone had looked at her and seen only what was missing, but it hurt just as much as the first time. She wanted to leave, to disappear before anyone noticed the woman sitting alone at a table with one leg and a broken smile. But her pride made her stay a little longer. She lifted the cup, pretending to sip, fighting the lump in her throat. That's when she heard a small voice. "Hi." Amelia blinked and looked up. A little girl stood by her table, maybe 4 years old, with bright eyes and a mess of light brown curls. She was holding a tiny white flower in her hand, one of those wild ones that grow near sidewalks. "You look sad," the girl said softly. "This is for you." Amelia stared at the flower, speechless. "For me?" The girl nodded seriously. "It makes people feel better. That's what my daddy says." Before Amelia could respond, a man's voice called from a few steps away. "Emma, you can't just run off like that." The man hurried over, a little out of breath. He looked like he'd come straight from work. Sleeves rolled up, tie loose, a notebook tucked under one arm. His eyes were kind but a little tired, like someone who carried too much responsibility. "I'm so sorry," he said quickly. "My daughter doesn't always understand personal space." "It's okay," Amelia said, smiling for the first time that day. "She's sweet. She gave me a flower." Emma grinned and stood proudly next to her father. "See, Daddy? She needed it." The man looked at Amelia again, really looked at her this time. He saw the tears she'd tried to hide, the empty chair across from her, and the way she was trying to hold herself together. His voice softened. "Well," he said gently, "then it seems like she made the right call." "I'm Ethan," he added, offering a small, genuine smile. "And this is Emma. I hope we didn't interrupt anything." Amelia hesitated, then said, "You didn't, I was just finishing up." "Looks like you could use a refill," Ethan said kindly. "Would you mind if we joined you for a minute? Emma's been trying to make new friends, and I think she's done a pretty good job choosing one." Amelia felt something in her chest ease. "Sure," she said quietly. "I'd like that." Ethan ordered a coffee for himself and a small juice for Emma. What started as polite small talk turned into something more. They talked about their favorite movies, the best places for coffee in town, and the silly things kids say when they think adults aren't listening. Amelia found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in weeks. Ethan told her he was a journalist, a widowed father raising his daughter alone since his wife passed away 3 years earlier. "It's been rough," he admitted, glancing at Emma, who was now busy drawing on a napkin with a borrowed pen. "But she keeps me going," Amelia nodded. "She's a bright little soul," he smiled. "She is, and she has a habit of finding people who need a little light." Amelia looked at the small flower lying on the table and thought maybe he was right. That day didn't end with any promises or romantic words, but before they left, Ethan said, "I come here every Friday after picking Emma up from daycare. If you ever want company, we'd be happy to see you." Amelia didn't know why, but that simple invitation stayed with her. The following Friday, she found herself at the cafe again, half hoping, half afraid. And when Ethan and Emma walked in, both smiling when they saw her, she realized she was glad she'd come. Weeks turned into months. Their Friday coffees became a quiet tradition. Sometimes they talked for hours. Other times they just sat together in comfortable silence while Emma played nearby. Amelia learned that Ethan loved old books and hated cold coffee. Ethan learned that Amelia designed houses and dreamed of creating spaces that made people feel safe. Emma adored Amelia. She called her Miss Amy and insisted on sitting beside her, showing her drawings and asking endless questions. "Does your leg hurt?" she asked once in that honest way only children have. "Sometimes," Amelia answered, "but not too bad. I just have to rest it sometimes." Emma thought about that, then said, "You walk really good, like a superhero." That made Amelia laugh and cry at the same time. Over time, what began as friendship slowly grew into something deeper. Ethan never treated her like she was fragile or broken. He didn't look at her prosthetic leg with pity. He asked if she needed help when they walked places, but never assumed she did. He made her feel normal. No, more than that. He made her feel seen. One evening after a simple dinner at his apartment, while Emma was upstairs asleep, Ethan said, "There's something I've been working on. A piece for the paper." He hesitated, then continued, "It's about people who've had to rebuild their lives after loss. I've been searching for the right story to end it with." Then I realized I already found it. Amelia frowned slightly. "Whose story?" He looked at her gently. "Yours." She didn't know what to say. He reached across the table and took her hand. "You've been through hell, but you're still here. You're still kind. You still believe in connection. That's strength, Amelia, the kind that gives other people hope." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't look away. "You make me feel like I matter again." "You do," he said quietly. A few weeks later, Ethan invited her and Emma to the beach for the weekend. They walked along the sand, Amelia barefoot, her prosthetic packed safely away, feeling the water brush against her toes for the first time in years. It felt like freedom. As the sun began to set, Ethan turned to her. "Amelia," he said softly, "you've become such an important part of our lives. You make Emma happy. You make me happy. I don't want that to end." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring. Nothing fancy, just simple and real, like him. "Will you marry me?" Amelia's breath caught. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "Life with me isn't always easy." Ethan smiled. "Life with anyone isn't easy, but you're worth every bit of it." From behind them, a small voice said, "Say yes, Miss Amy." Emma was holding a handful of seashells and grinning from ear to ear. "Then you can be my real mommy." Amelia laughed through her tears. "Okay," she said softly. "Yes." The wedding was small and quiet, held on that same beach. Emma wore a white dress with a pink ribbon and carried a basket of seashells instead of flowers. During the ceremony, when the minister asked if anyone objected, Emma raised her hand and said, "I only object if anyone is ever mean to my mommy again." Everyone laughed and cried at the same time. When it was Amelia's turn to speak, she said, "I used to think my accident took everything from me. My leg, my confidence, my future. But that day I was left alone at a cafe. Something better found me. A little girl with a flower and a father who chose kindness. That moment changed my life. You showed me that love doesn't see what's missing. It sees what's still there." Ethan's vows were simple, too. "A stranger broke your heart that day," he said. "But because he left, I got to find you. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never sit alone again." When they kissed, Emma clapped and shouted, "My mommy and daddy." Everyone laughed again. Years later, whenever people asked how they met, Amelia would smile and say, "It started with a flower from a little girl who believed in kindness." Because sometimes, Love doesn't walk in with a grand entrance or perfect timing. Sometimes it toddles up with small hands and a simple gift and changes everything.